this amendment to ensure that the names are released would be in line with a number of what our allies do. For example, the United Kingdom rightfully names and shames any members of Parliament who are acting in a treasonous manner or who are colluding with foreign countries to undermine the United Kingdom's national interest. And I do believe that Canada should be doing the same, and I agree with my colleague Dane Lloyd that otherwise, the Prime Minister seems to just be weaponizing this so-called secret information that he continues to talk about without actually saying the names to his own advantage. And I certainly would agree with the former NDP leader who, certainly won many more seats than the current leader of the NDP, and has said again just recently, I agree completely with Mr. Poilievre's decision not to take the bait. That is, he's referring to Mr. Trudeau's allegation, or Mr. Trudeau's claims. He said Trudeau has been trying for a year and a half to restrain what Pierre Poilievre can do by trying to say, come on, get this private briefing, and oh, by the way, then you'll be held to an official secret and you won't be able to talk about this anymore. So it seems notable and frankly formidable NDP former leaders would agree with Pierre Poilievre, our leader of the Conservative Party, that any effort to do this is really an effort to put him under some sort of gag order so he can't really do his duty to hold the Prime Minister accountable for matters of foreign interference. So it's interesting to see now under Mr. Singh that Mr. Singh is working hand in hand with Mr. Trudeau yet again to try to gag order Pierre Poilievre from being able to speak about this issue. So it's interesting that Mr. Singh recently made a big show of ripping up some so-called, it was really an informal coalition with the Liberal government, but it would appear now they're really helping Mr. Trudeau to carry water on the really shameless partisan politics he's playing in the foreign interference inquiry, which until this point has been quite a serious and respectable and professional undertaking until the Prime Minister decided to make some sort of ruthless and shameless political show and a circus out of the whole affair. And I think what's really important for this committee to remember, and certainly Canadians will, that the Prime Minister, Justin Trudeau, had to be dragged kicking and screaming into this foreign interference inquiry. You'll remember, Mr. Chair, that he had first denied there was any election interference from China, for example, denied anything was going on with the member of Don Valley North in that nomination. And yet here we are in a foreign interference inquiry, and not only is there clear interference from China, but also from India and from Iran and Pakistan and Russia. We have, in fact, at the worst point in history when it comes to foreign interference, and we've had this same Prime Minister, Justin Trudeau, for 9 years. So what does that say about his leadership or lack thereof? And I would also point out that the person in this country most responsible for foreign interference and preventing it and keeping national security safe is the Prime Minister of Canada. And so if we've had the same Prime Minister of Canada, and now this has come to such a point that 13 individuals, the RCMP had to announce 13 individuals are in peril because foreign interference has gotten so bad, what does that really say about his leadership? So what's interesting to me is that in the foreign interference inquiry, which he's made a farce of with his recent partisan attacks, that he's really trying to do two things. Number one, distract from his failed record to prevent foreign interference in this country. The fact that he's created an environment that's worse than ever at any time in Canadian history of foreign interference, that other foreign adversaries and others feel that we are a weak country, that they can bully under Prime Minister Trudeau's so-called leadership. And the second thing, of course, Mr. Chair, is that the Prime Minister is trying to distract from the fact that he has an ongoing revolt in his caucus looking to overthrow him. So it's no wonder why he's doing this, but certainly if he continues, as my colleague said, to weaponize this, then he should release the names, because Canadians deserve to know who it is in Parliament right now or in the past who has been undermining the national interest on purpose to aid a foreign country. They absolutely deserve to know that, and those individuals need to be held accountable. And I would also say that it's interesting that he won't do so, and I wonder why that is. Well, perhaps it's because out of any party, it makes the Liberal Party look bad. Again, he was the one who denied that there was election interference from China, for example. He's the one who denied there was any issue here at all, and yet here we are. So he continues to deny that there's any issue there, but I would suspect that's why he's not releasing the names. So I think we could put this to bed. It's rapidly devolving into some McCarthy witch hunt as a result of the Prime Minister's actions, and I think we can easily clear this up today by releasing the names. Canadians deserve to know, and the Prime Minister should be showing leadership in this regard and ensuring that he's actually taking action on this intelligence. And I would say in the last thing, Mr. Chair, that it's not clear why we're taking intelligence if we're not able to utilize it to ensure that these individuals are held accountable. And if they're semi-witting or unwittingly knowing, then they should know, and they should be informed. And so I think it is imperative that Parliament learn who these people are, if any, and move forward with that information. And Mr. Chair, I'd also say that, again, the responsibility for national security lies with the Prime Minister. The only reason we are here is because he's failed to protect that, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Thank you. We go now to Mr. Gahir, please.
Great. Thank you, Chair. I think it's rich that the Conservatives are... I can hear an echo again. I think it's rich that the Conservatives are talking about this issue when their leader engages in willful blindness by burying his head in the sand and not getting top secret security clearance. He can quite literally get top secret clearance, learn the names of the people in his own party that are vulnerable or have been vulnerable to foreign interference, that have engaged with foreign governments, and then remove those names because he has ultimate power in his party. He can remove those names from his party. This motion, this sub-amendment that's been brought it's practically out of order because the RCP has stated this, CSIS has stated this, that anyone who reveals classified information is subject to the law equally. So obviously, in this case, the names that are classified at this time, to reveal them publicly would be a criminal offense because, that's what this sub-amendment is asking. It's asking the Prime Minister to engage in a criminal offense. What we can see is for the last few months, for the last year, Ms. May and Mr. Singh from the Greens and NDP, respectively, have done a wonderful job commenting on this issue, and they have not been muzzled at all on this issue. So I think it's very rich that the leader of the Conservatives engages in this behavior, refuses to get top secret security clearance, and points fingers. I think this sub-amendment is a non-starter, and we should just go to a vote.
Okay, Ikwander, you probably are in foreign interference.
We go now to Ms. Lansing.
Probably one of the 11.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. Well, while I appreciate members of this committee thinking that the motion is out of order because they don't like it, that's not exactly how it works. And I think what we're seeing now here at this committee is that there's only one party in this country that is calling for the release of this name and for the release of these names, the names that the Prime Minister has alluded to, the names that we know are being kept secret, and everyone else is trying to work to hide the names, particularly the changing stories of Miss May since before and after she read the briefings or she was briefed in. Now we see that the NDP are trying to distract from what was brought to this committee as a serious issue today, the serious issue of foreign interference by India, and they're now playing politics with it. Listen to this. I agree completely with Poilievre's decision not to take the bait. Trudeau has been trying for a year and a half to restrain what Pierre Poilievre can do by trying to say, come and get this private briefing. And, oh, by the way, then you'll be held to an official secret and that you won't be able to talk about this anymore. Do you know who said that, Mr. Chair? That was Thomas Mulcair. That was the leader of the NDP when the NDP used to be an opposition party that wasn't helping the Liberals cover this up. The question is what is the government trying to hide? Now, for everybody watching, they might not know that the CSIS Act allows the government to offer information to any Canadian about specific risks of foreign interference without forcing them into sworn secrecy or controlling what they say. But this motion particularly is about releasing the names that Canadians deserve to know of any parliamentarian in any party that has been wittingly associated with foreign interference, with a foreign government working against the interests of Canadians. But receiving a secret briefing would, even according to the Prime Minister's Chief of Staff, would prevent the recipient from using that information in any manner. Now, I don't think that's very smart for an opposition party, one that only exists, the only opposition party that exists to force the Prime Minister to come clean with Canadians in what he is trying to hide. This this particular motion that was dropped at committee makes a mockery, the same kind of mockery that the Trudeau government has repeatedly made with foreign interference. What we witnessed at the public inquiry this week was nothing more than well-rehearsed partisan smears by a failing prime minister who is facing rejection from Canadians from coast to coast and increasingly from his own Liberal Party, ones that are having letter-writing campaigns to oust him from his leadership. And it is beyond rich for the prime minister to grandstand, given the record that his government has shown on not taking foreign interference seriously, with all of the benefits of the government agencies that he has, with all of the information that he was warned with, including in the Liberal Party, and the fact that he refused to act. It is this prime minister and his government who repeatedly claimed that they weren't aware of foreign interference happening right under their noses, despite a massive paper trail of warnings from officials. It is Justin Trudeau's government, which mysteriously sat, as we learned from the inquiry last week, on a CSIS surveillance warning, a warrant application for a Liberal power broker for 54 days, and still there is no answers about that. The minister says he doesn't know. Other ministers say that he doesn't know. There are staffers who gave absolutely no answers at that commission. It is Justin Trudeau's party who willingly allowed Chinese high school students to vote in the now infamous Han Dong nomination race, and that was fine. It was Justin Trudeau who ignored calls from the leader of the opposition to release those names to Parliament. He has repeatedly done that, and now the entire country is asking for those names. You cannot go to the committee under the guise of providing information, drop that kind of partisan smear job on members of Parliament, and then not come clean with the names. And the only people that are looking to have those names told to the Canadian public is the Conservative Party. We are fighting now every single party that is working with Justin Trudeau and his government to cover up these names. And Canadians deserve to know. Canadians deserve to know which members of Parliament in which party, no matter what, are colluding with foreign governments wittingly or unwittingly. And unlike others who are willing to limit their ability to hold government to account on important issues of national security, Conservatives will not do that. And Mr. Poilievre will not be left under a gag order and left unable to speak about any of the information he receives. But all of that to say that these names have to come out. And they have to be, and there's only one person who can do that, and that's the Prime Minister of Canada. The government, through CSIS, is authorized by a particular section in the CSIS Act. It's section 12.1. He could act at any time to utilize threat reduction measures to notify the leader of a political party of issues concerning national security. He did not do that. Instead, he chose to make it public in an inquiry and cast aspersions with absolutely no evidence and no follow-through on letting Canadians know who those people are, who those members of Parliament is. This tool has been available to his government since he started, since 2015. He could use that tool to inform Mr. Poilievre, and he's not doing that. All of that to say is that the motion on the table is to release the names. Again, there is one party asking for this prime minister to release every single one of those names, and the other parties that are purportedly in opposition helping the prime minister hide those names, hide the identities of all of those members of Parliament. The question really is to the entire committee is, what on earth are you hiding? What is the prime minister hiding? I think that's the question that we have to get to the bottom of in this committee, and I hope that members will vote for this amendment to make those names public. for the betterment of our national security, and for every Canadian to know who represents them, and for every Canadian to know ahead of the next election who they are actually voting for, which country they are working for, and if they have Canadian best interests at heart. And only the Prime Minister can do that. Everything else is pure politics. That's what we've seen this week, and unfortunately, that's what we're seeing right now at this committee.